Hello and welcome to this episode of In the Trenches. I've lined up a very special guest tonight. Someone who I've known since my early Los Angeles days. He's a lover of food, lover of art, lover of music. His entrepreneurial spirit is inspiring. He owns and runs one of the most exquisite restaurants in Nashville called Sinema. Sinema is like no other. Its vibe, culture, style is dripping. It clearly comes from an artistic standpoint. He might not see himself as an artist, but I certainly do. Our worlds, from production to restaurant owner, are one and of the same. I admire him greatly, and I can't wait for y'all to listen to this episode. So without any further ado, Q Taylor.
You come a long way, man. Look at you, man.
Now I'm in front. Okay, we'll get into it. Here we go. All right, here we go.
This is a long way from Bone Thugs Harmony, right?
It is a long way.
Way.
All right, so Q, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, man.
Thank you so much for coming.
This is dope.
You liking it?
Yeah, I feel like therapy right now. You're my therapist. About to let some shit out. You know what I mean?
That's kind of what it is for me. I was saying that to my wife the other day, to Carrie. I was like, you know what? This is a pretty cheap therapy compared to paying for it every week. You know?
Yeah.
Well, we've come a long ways, you know, from the LA days where I met you right through Carrie, my wife.
I went to undergrad with your wife. It's funny how, you know, all the pieces and all the connections in this world can matter at some point. And, you know, we became even better friends than the people that I knew.
That is true.
Undergrad.
That is true. They lined us up and then kicked them to the curb.
Yeah, we got rid of them. Yeah.
So you started LA, right? Let me preface it back.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted you on this podcast. I'm elated to have you on it because I admire you so much. Thank
you.
Absolutely. You're always a ray of sunshine to me. Your smile, I was telling Edgar, like the second I see him, I smile. But your entrepreneurial spirit is bar none a 10. Like you are the epitome of what I would say when you look at someone from an entrepreneurial spirit, I think of you. So to have you on here is a delight.
Thanks, man.
You know,
appreciate it.
For my guests who don't know of the infamous Q, he owns, excuse me.
Okay.
Owned and runs. I would say one of the most vibiest of restaurants in town called Sinema. It takes place, or it is in a abandoned theater, right?
Yeah, it is.
And it's just dripping with vibe, style. So naturally I wanted you on here because I feel like your world of how you dreamt of this incredible restaurant, from idea to brick and mortar to opening day.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem far off from me, from what I do on big productions. You ran a big production. So I'm inspired by that, and I'm also inspired because I know you so well, and I want my guests to know how art really has influenced you and where you're going with your businesses.
Wow. But there's three, I would say, components to a restaurant like Sinema's magnitude and that coming to fruition, you know, that kind of made it what it is today. We're in our 10th year.
10 years.
Yeah, it's been 10 years. We opened in June 2014. So right in this June coming up will be our 10th year. And to go back to your question, I think what we wanted to do, obviously I have to say that it's not just me. It's a team of people who was involved in this process from it's a family owned business and partnered with one of my childhood best friends, Sam. And what the funny thing is, Sinema really is like a mecca of all the things that I experienced growing up. And then a lot of that Hollywood vibe, a little bit of that, and that influence comes from my business partner, Sam Reed, and, you know, his family background. So we basically wanted to kind of bring these worlds together. It was like a cultural piece almost. Like,
And it is.
It is. And, we wanted to make sure it wasn't one-sided. We wanted to make sure that it spoke to everyone. So it kind of started with that idea.
Sure.
If that makes any sense.
It does.
And me growing up, it was Frankie Beverly, it was Marvin Gaye, it was Isaac Hayes, but it was also the Talking Heads and the LCD sound system. I never knew when I was going to wake up and walk into the kitchen and see what my mom was going to be listening to.
Really?
Or when I get home from school, what movie was on the television, right? So it could be Casablanca, it could be Rear Window, or Alfred Hitchcock film, but it also could be New Jack City or Purple Rain. So cinema is a lot of that.
Sure.
And so that was easy.
Okay.
Right? And those are the things that I love. I love film, I love food, and I love music.
Yeah. Very much.
Let's put on a show and let's entertain our customers and do something dope.
Yeah. So let's go back, actually. So you were in LA, and what started all of this? You were in LA, then you moved to Vegas, right? And ran like concierge.
No.
Hospitality.
Yeah.
Hospitality.
I was F&B at the Palms Casino.
And that had to generate some crazy stories running Vegas like that. Come on now, let's get it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Vegas was wild. Beverly Hills was wild. I mean, I've been working in restaurants since I was a kid. Even in Memphis, I worked at a French restaurant when I was 14 in the summertime, busting tables at this restaurant in Overland Square. It's not there anymore, but it was called Paulette's. And I used to just busting the shit out of the tables, like running around like it was baseball, hitting all the bases,
Yeah.
And what's weird, man? Throughout my entire life, I've always been able to turn back to hospitality, turn back to the restaurant business and serving others. And like throughout undergrad at UT, I was running restaurants in Knoxville. And best friend of mine was in LA. He was like, man, there's a lot of opportunities out there. And you should take a look at it. And that's when my journey to LA started. And I ran into you.
I want to stop you there because I want this episode to be about our parallels.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I do that a lot with artists in the studio when they're talking. I'm like, well, see, look, you're saying this, and I can relate to my world as this. And the day I realized that the artist and myself in our job positions are parallels, it all changed for me. So I'm liking what you're saying because I moved to LA with the same attitude with the dream and, hey, this is where you go. Yeah. This is where you're going to do it. So you followed that dream, not blindly, but you did it with the passion to not stop at anything, right?
Yeah.
That's where to go, I go.
Yeah.
You didn't overthink it and not go. You didn't talk yourself out of it. No. You just went, boom, I'm going to it.
You can't. You can't.
There's no backup.
You can't wonder. You can't wonder in life.
Exactly. You
just got to go.
Exactly.
You got to put your actions to reality as much as you possibly can so you don't look back with regret. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And what I learned early on, especially when I was in college, was I needed to diversify my taste. Mm-hmm. I needed to diversify my work history. I needed to be more well-rounded in the culinary world, in the food and beverage world. And I knew I wasn't going to get that just stuck in Tennessee the whole time.
Yeah. So you definitely have this similar mindset that I do with my work. You study it.
Yeah.
You attack it. You have routine is probably pretty important to you, I bet.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can't just flounder about and expect to get something to go your way, right? For me, when you moved to Nashville, no. Let's go back to Vegas.
That's it.
Let's go back to Vegas.
Okay, Vegas.
Come on now. It's late at night. Let's get into it.
I'll tell you a lot about Vegas.
Let's go into Vegas. I have some crazy ass stories in Vegas. But
Vegas is the reason why I decided that I wanted to be an entrepreneur instead of a person working in hospitality.
Explain.
Casino business is brutal. Mm-hmm. It's 8 a.m. to midnight. Mm-hmm. You got an idea. You got to run it through 25 people before you even get the menu back on the table for the customer. Mm-hmm. And I knew I was ready. Vegas taught me the tools to write a business plan, to source, to have the proper resources to make something that's dirt into a whole concept, because I was a part of that experience working at the Palms Casino. So I just was like, why not, right?
You were just sponging all of what you were learning in Vegas.
And I work for some amazing people, like people who are like-minded and on another level, and people that I still look up to this day. Elizabeth Blau, Carrie Simon, Michael Fiorelli, all the Maloof brothers. You know, it was just a bunch of people who was around me who had all of this knowledge of what it's all about. And I just soaked it in, wrote that shit down, took notes.
You were a study of it. It was
stole some shit.
It's
Got influenced by this and made a cue out of it, right? And that's Sinema. That's our coffee business. That's our consulting company. And that's growth, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I remember I had moved to Nashville. We were still talking. I don't even know if you remember this, but you were in Vegas. Yeah. And you were asking me about Nashville. Well, how's it going? Is it popping? Is it good? You know, this and that. I'm like, you need to get out here. You need to get out here. And you did. You moved. Yeah. And Carrie and I were like, he might move back. Because you were talking about going back. Yeah. You weren't sold. Yeah. And then you was it like, what brought you here?
Well, I knew I could raise the capital. It started with that. I knew that I had the support that I needed from people who really care about me as a person personally. Yeah. That they're going to be behind me 100%. So it just was more of a comfortable, safe space for me to execute the vision that I felt like I could do it. And my business partner, I've known this guy, Sam, and his brother, Ed. I mean, we've known each other since we were kids in Memphis. Wow. And they're just as passionate about things in this business as much as I am. So I teamed up with the people that I felt comfortable with.
Right? Now, let's dive into the team part of it. Was it easy? I know it was easy because he's your friend, but I mean, do you guys have really distinct roles that you play?
Yeah, for sure.
Because I know that I was in a directing team, and of course it starts off, then eventually, things eventually dissolved for whatever reasons. Usually for us, it was different tastes. We were going this way, I was going this way. Yeah. And
it's definitely some like Isley Brothers type shit or some Hall & Notes, like, you playing bass, I'm on guitar, and I'm on piano, so, and sometimes, in business, some people try to play your instrument and sometimes you try to play their instrument, but the communication of that is the key part of that. Yeah. So, I mean, we all play different roles. I'm an operator first. I am a visionary first. I am all about making sure our guests have a great experience. I want to talk to the customers. I want to check on their kitchen. I want to make sure my bartenders are set up for success. My business partners are in different categories where that's not their primary. They're more behind the scenes. So it just makes it work, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was just sitting here talking and realizing we're back to the direct parallels, you know?
Yeah.
You have many different generals who run their army differently, right? Yeah. I happen to be a general that is in the trenches. Well, no pun intended. Yeah. On the front lines with my team. Yeah. Maximus from Gladiator. I want to be the first one in that line. Right. You know what I mean? That's me. Yeah. That's how I was raised by a militant father. I can't be sitting on that horse with a bullhorn. Get me in that. I need to feel it and see it.
And the drum.
Yeah, no, I need to be in that action, my face painted. Yeah. So when you moved here and it took you a while to figure out Sinema, though. It wasn't easy. You were figuring out the town. You weren't. You had to get in with the right people.
Absolutely.
Because Nashville, the one thing about Nashville, I want to clarify on. I kind of thought when I moved here, I'm from LA.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come in strong. I'm gonna do this, do that. No.
Yeah.
Doesn't work that way.
It doesn't.
You gotta pay your dues. You gotta get in. You gotta talk the right. You gotta root. You gotta put roots. Yep. That's what this town Nashville is about. Yep. They're not just gonna give it to people who come in transplants. Yep. You gotta really do your work.
Yep. Yeah.
And I know you were doing the circuit. You were talking to the right people. You're schmoozing with the heavy real estate people.
Yeah. It's funny. You remind me of that song. It's like that Dave Matthews song. That's funny. I'm referencing Dave Matthews, but it's like pay your dues, pay your debts, pay your respects. And everybody tells you that you pay for what you get, right? Yep. And that's all I do every single day. Every day. 10 years later, I treat it like it's day one, right? Who's out there now? Who's in the streets now? All right, I need to get those people in the restaurant. I need to get that person to come by the coffee shop. But how can I support what they're doing as well?
Now, you know what you're talking about right now.
Right.
You and I have said this.
Yeah.
It's that old school code.
Yeah.
That street code.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see people, newcomers, the new wave. They're not adopting that work ethic that I feel like a lot of people feel entitled, right? I need it now. I said it. I want to put it into existence. I deserve it. And what I'm hearing from you is an obsession, something that's happened for a long time, that's been rooting in your brain, a vision, and waiting for the opportunity to not waiting, because you weren't waiting. You were creating the opportunity.
Yeah.
I honestly believe that in you. You don't sit back and wait for anything to happen. Like, to me, now when Sinema became the vision, was the building, how did Sinema, because what I think about the restaurant is it is cultural and it is artistic. It is the food, from the design, from the ambiance, from the downstairs being old Hollywood and classic photography. I mean, I piss people off because I'm like downstairs walking, I'm looking over their table. Sorry, eat your food. Hey, hon, look at this Clint Eastwood photo. Yeah, eat your food. Because everything from the booths to the food, everything's got this style. And then you go upstairs with some more loungy.
Yeah.
And that's my element. Yeah. We got the music. We got all the fine art, high-end music photos. I mean, again, it's like lined with culture and history.
Man, Sinema started on a drunken weekend at Lollapalooza in Chicago in 2010. Yeah, that's where it started. So it was me, my best friend Sam Reed, another close buddy of mine, Austin Ray, who owns ML Rose, and another buddy of mine, Adam. One of our friends said, hey, we got 4 tickets to Lollapalooza. Let's all meet in Chicago. And at the time, I was in D.C. working at Gaylord Hotels.
Oh, yeah, you were,
Yeah, I was doing a job up there, opening a new hotel up there, helping out with a team of F&B guys. And went to Chicago, and me and Sam are eating at all these dope-ass restaurants. And there was this one restaurant that was inspired by Marvin Gaye, and it was called Marvin. And it was an upstairs, downstairs concept with an open kitchen, and it was just all this dope photography and these dope vibes playing Marvin Gaye, Hear My Dear, and what's going on. And I'm just soaking all this. It was like a moment for me. And me and Sam looked at each other like, man, we need to open our own shit. We got to do our own thing. And then later on that night, we went to a couple of concerts, went and saw Erykah Badu, saw J. Cole, saw the Black Keys, get back to the hotel, and we had a yellow pad, and we just started writing shit down. What is this? Because we really wanted to focus on the senses. What do we want the place to smell like? What do we want the place to feel like? What do we want the food to taste like? And we woke up the next day and we had like a stack of
notes. A manifesto.
Yep. And that stack of notes turned into a business plan. And later on, that turned into Sinema. And our friend Austin Ray, who owned the ML Rose on 8th Avenue, he was like, Q, saying, there's an abandoned movie theater across the street. You guys need to look at this. Just take a look. So we went to visit and then checked it out. And it was a piece of shit at the time. It was everywhere. Yeah.
You had just...
Yeah.
I checked it out. Yeah. Checked it with you or something. Probably later that you've already been working on it or something.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And it became Sinema. We had like 100 names, some terrible names.
Explain some. Come on.
I can't remember a few of them, but it was like, I first wanted to call it Angie, which was a homage to my mom. Her mom's name's Angie. And it was also a play on the Rolling Stones song, Angie. Because at first the space kind of took it to another level. We originally wanted to be like a 60-seat restaurant that really was focusing on like execution of amazing cuisine. But Sinema's 8,000 square feet. Mm-hmm. So we was like, people are not going to get it in a movie theater. So we'll tuck that idea in and do Angie later, which hopefully will make that happen one day.
That's cool.
But
maybe down in Memphis or something.
But we had a bunch of bad names. I have to dig into my notes.
Hey, but that you got to throw out the bad ones to get to the good ones.
And Sam's dad actually named Sinema. Colin Reed, he actually named Sinema, gave the name Sinema. He was like, it's an old movie theater. Just turn the C to an S.
I was going to ask you.
The Sin, right? Vegas.
I never caught that until now.
Yeah, so it was like all these little intertwining things within the name. right?
I love that.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I love that. That's
so
great.
it's like a double entendre is what rappers call it.
Yep. Just even hearing you talk right now, you mentioned 3 references of music.
I love
how has music through your life influenced where you are? Come on.
That's the shit that, man. Music is why me and you are.
I know. You were like, I think Bone Thugs, you got kind of like, you heard I did Bone Thugs when I was like 19 years old and something like that.
Bone Thugs. You done a bunch of crazy wild shit back then.
Exhibit, Cypress Hill, Eminem, Cocoa Brothers.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. They're drawing blank, but yeah, I did.
Doesn't it feel like that was a whole lifetime ago?
It feels like a lifetime ago. And honestly, it's the podcast has woken so much. I have my best friend, Rob, who I get kind of inspiration from hours before jumping on the podcast. Because I'm like, he knows me from the early days. He's the only person that still knows me from high school.
Yeah.
And he's always reminding me of like, dude, don't forget, man, when we started, you were doing this. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That was me.
Yeah.
That was me.
Yeah.
I remember.
It's like when you look at pictures of yourself.
Yeah.
I was looking at pictures like when I went to college with your wife and I saw an old picture of me in college. I used to wear sunglasses in the bars at nighttime. What the hell was I thinking? What the hell was I thinking, Ryan?
I had frosted tips bleach when we were shooting. I was way too cool to be shooting. I was like, shit.
So I apologize to anyone that knew me in undergrad. What the was I thinking?
I just love the fact that you and I were able to meet in LA and really come here and lay our roots.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to know about Sinema, like when you think of like, because what we're going to do, I'm going to cut to a lot of stuff at that restaurant. I want to see that. I want to show these viewers how awesome. It's my favorite restaurant in town because when I go to a restaurant, like you said, I want to vibe.
Yeah.
I want to vibe. So when you thought of, when you got to the Marvin restaurant and you were like, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Are you responsible for all the photography and getting those? Explain to me that. I'm honestly
taking credit for all of that. That's my whole thing.
Explain to me, because I just want the guests. I want the guests to understand that your restaurant, Sinema, is bottom. You said 8,000 square feet. 8,000 square feet. Downstairs is a restaurant, very high end. With you go to the women's bathroom and all like. Oh, by the way, selfies galore in the women's bathroom. But isn't there a Clint Eastwood photo or what's?
Yeah.
That Clint one. I didn't see. I had to go into the girls' bathroom, but my wife's like, you gotta go in here and see this photo. Yeah. We got to share. I think men's room's got an old share or something.
Yeah, men's room's got Marilyn Monroe right now. We have Marilyn.
Are you revolving?
And upstairs is share, actually. You're right. Downstairs is Marilyn.
Explain the photography, because that's honestly.
So a lot of that, Ron, is about my relationships with people that I met over the years in Vegas and LA. I became really close friends with Mark Seliger. I became really close friends with an old school cat. Old school. He's probably like 70 now. And I just talked to him a couple of weeks ago. His name's Robert Knight and his wife, Marianne Bill.
I know
those are my people, right? And you're one of the greats in my opinion.
Thank you.
So I said, I got the resources to get real photography in this restaurant. I don't want to Google shit online and then get it printed. I want signed artwork by the photographers. And I remember when I first started talking about Sinema in Vegas, I said, I want to open it. And I was sitting with Robert. He said, do you ever open your own restaurant? I'm going to give you some of my photography. Yeah. And that shit, he kept his word.
Because he's got a lot of beautiful, you have a lot of beautiful pieces of his.
Yeah, and upstairs, if you go upstairs, you got this grand staircase. You walk upstairs, and it's basically rock photography. You got Freddie King, you got Johnny Cash, you got Jimi Hendrix, Slash, Cyndi Lauper's up there, Led Zeppelin. When they finished their second album, I got a signed photo by by Robert Knight that he took when they got off the plane with the masters of Led Zeppelin too. I got the last photos of Stevie Ray Vaughan upstairs. The last photos before he died in that plane crash. Jimi Hendrix, and then you go down the hallway, you got B.B. King, Al Gray, Isaac Hayes, Nina Simone, you know.
Now listen, everybody who's gonna now come into Nashville and go see Sinema, you gotta order some food. You can't just walk around like I do.
I took it personal.
Yes,
this is personal to me.
Absolutely.
Right? You know, so I want the best. Why not? You know,
absolutely. You've got the connections. You've got the resources.
Yeah.
Let's paint it. Yeah. You think of like the Morrison Gallery at Sunset Marquee.
Yes.
I'm honored to have
even those old school like John Varvatos stores.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I miss 2-0 hippies. They had some dope stuff down there.
They did. They had a lot of vibe.
And that speaks back to Nashville. We got to stay away from commercializing everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I was going to ask you, like, I'm all over the place right now from my mind of what I had in store. But where do you see Nashville going in 15 years? Arts and entertainment. I mean, is it going to take over? I mean, do you see, because you're in all those powerful kind of like real estate, commercial real estate stuff, you know, or meetings, or the people who are dealing with all the, I don't know, the big plan, the big picture.
Nashville in 15 years, I think we're going to be in a really good spot. I think we need to focus more on the infrastructure of the city. Mm-hmm. I think we really need to have an emphasis and a plan to get people from sleeping off the street.
Yeah.
And focus on our homeless situation that's increasing by the day. Mm-hmm. I think that we need to focus on jobs and housing that allow people to work in places like Sinema, but can afford to live within 5 miles of Sinema.
Sure.
So I think if we keep our eye on the prize and some of those main high-level topics, I think we'll be in a good place. The spirit of Nashville is based on authenticity. People like you, people who are invested in the rawness of creativity and having a safe place for people to be creative and supporting local entrepreneurship. There's just a lot within that I feel like can keep that authentic side to it. So as long as we got people with a high level interest in making sure those people are empowered and can thrive, I think we'll be okay.
Cool.
I don't know if that made any sense.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. I just wanted to see, where you were coming at it from, because you came up through the Memphis days. So tell me about those days. Like how has the you still kicking it with Freddie Gibbs and Anderson Paak, right?
Yeah, those are my guys.
Those are your boys.
Yep. Memphis, man. I got a really close relationship with Freddie because he's a street dude, and I grew up in the street. So we're kind of kindred spirits. So shout out to Freddie. But Memphis, man. Memphis is like next. We got the right mayor in town, who just got elected, Mayor Paul Young, who also I went to college with. He's one of my best friends, actually. I feel good about the future of Memphis. And growing up there, man, it was rough. It was rough in a lot of ways for me growing up. Like, I experienced a lot of things growing up as a kid. I had a lot of challenges within my own circle. Mom battled a lot of substance abuse issues throughout my childhood.
Sure.
Spent a lot of times on the streets. Older brothers was hustling and getting work done, and spent some time in and out of the system. So I had a lot of time to think to myself. There's a lot of isolation growing up in a lot of ways.
Sure.
So
me too.
What happens with that though is you learn to not have fear. So through that process, I think it's weird how things come full circle. Mm-hmm. You kind of use those tools because you have to remind yourself when you achieve things where you come from, right?
Yep.
So Memphis, I always got love for Memphis, man. Hopefully we'll do some things down there one day. I think we're going to focus on some coffee partnerships down there with our coffee business pretty soon. So
what made you expand from, you obviously felt like you had a handle on Sinema, right?
Yeah.
Where you could expand your efforts to another business for...
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Well, when Sinema first opened, we used to get all these crazy reviews about how dope the place was, how the food was amazing, the bar program was phenomenal.
I remember the big talk of town was like Reese Witherspoon has gone in there like every week or something. Like it's
Carrie Underwood, McIntyre coming and sitting in the lounge having a drink. Yeah, but what we used to get bad reviews on was our coffee. We used to get bad reviews on our coffee. And
took that shit personally.
I took
I'm gonna open up.
I take that shit personal. And that's kind of where we really, their coffee journey started. We started figuring out how can we get a local partnership on a coffee program that matches what we're trying to do with the rest of our vibe. And that's when 8th and Rose kind of started.
Do you have, what are some fun stories when Sinema first opened, but some big wigs rolling through town, rolling through the joint?
Ooh, man.
Is there like, I've come in there with Yellow Wolf a few times, I believe, and I think we're usually running past our hourly, well, not our hourly, but we're usually closing out the joint.
Yeah. I mean, we've had a lot of crazy things going on in that place, and a lot of beautiful things too. Famous country music guy right now had his first date in Sinema, and now they're happily married.
Oh, okay.
So we had some good moments like that. It's like our first date was.
Who was that?
I'm not gonna put him on blast like that. I'll tell you off camera.
Back to that hospitality. The game.
Yeah. And Carrie Underwood has had mad private dinners there with her husband, former Preds player. We've had Jack White come in without a reservation, but we figured out a way to take care of him. And the hostess didn't even know who he was. She's like, that's Jack White, right? But yeah, Sinema, man, it's all over the place. One day I was walking in, man, and I was just checking on the restaurant. So I started walking around, looking at everything. Walk upstairs to the lounge, and there was a dude sitting by himself. And he had already got his drink, and he was sitting on the couch. I would look over, and I was like, it's fucking Manny Fresh.
Really?
Yeah. So it's always random stuff like that. Which is Manny Fresh just sitting in the corner having a drink, chilling. And man, chatted with him for a second.
You go chat with him, make sure he feels good, right?
He's good. Yeah. Yeah. No autograph, none of that stuff.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. No pictures. Hey, my name's Q. If you need anything, let me know, man. Thanks for coming in. That's it. Yeah.
That's the way it should be.
Yep.
And making everybody feel comfortable. I mean, we've seen there's a lot of businesses that have opened up and haven't quite made it because they come in, I don't know, expecting too high or expecting, longevity or whatnot. And, Rome wasn't built in a day. It takes time. Are you seeing, having been now 10 years, right?
10 years, man.
10 years.
Yeah.
You've seen ebb and flow now. So now, let me ask you this. You're seasoned a bit more now. You get your tenure. Okay? Looking back now, what are you proud of? What have you learned? What would you tell your son? What would you tell your younger self?
I'm proud that we've lasted 10 years.
Okay, I was just going to say.
I'm proud of that. I've learned I still don't know a lot.
Why do you think you've lasted 10 years? Why do you think you're still lasting?
Because we have no choice. I think there's no excuse for me personally not to be successful. It's just no excuse. It's not like I have kids at home or a wife at home where I have to sacrifice or pivot or anything like that. I'm solo, so why not work my ass off? Why not take a chance and move to LA? Why not accept a job offer to move to Vegas? Why not go to DC and help open up a hotel? I have no excuse. It's no excuse. So I'm not tied to anything where I have to say, you know what, I got my wife at home and my 3 kids. I need to keep this job and not risk being an entrepreneur, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's that. And it's funny, like 10 years later, man, what you also learn is that you don't know everything.
Yeah.
And
you're okay with that.
Oh, that's the great part.
That is.
You know what's funny, Ron? We're going in our 10th year at Sinema, and I feel like this is about to be the best year we've ever had. I'm not joking. When it comes to our actual food program, the leaders that I've hired and put in position to be successful, the servers, the bartenders, the look and feel of the restaurant looks like we just opened yesterday. I feel like this next 10 years is going to be better than the previous 10 years. I strongly feel that.
Because you've built your team. You've worked out the kinks.
And it takes time.
It takes time.
Yep.
You've worked out the kinks. You see what works. You see those blind alleys. You go,
yeah,
I don't need that blind alley.
Yeah.
I already know where the problems are going to go. Have you gone through crises? Because like on my, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, let's talk about some of the nightmares. Like I almost have a nightmare in every other job.
Man, we have nightmares once a week.
And how do you, I don't know, let's talk about some of those.
You know, the toilet exploding at 7 p.m. on a Saturday. You know,
Sitting
in the middle of a busy dinner, you know, or the fire alarm going off and you can't figure out a way to turn it off. You have a big wedding upstairs and all of a sudden the AC is acting up so it's 85 degrees upstairs in the middle of the summer and everybody's sweating their ass out trying to take wedding pictures. And
So how do you combat that? Just stay cool, calm?
really apologize and mean it.
Mean it.
Say you're sorry and fix it and keep fighting to live and go to another day.
Are you hard on yourself?
Yeah.
Are you a perfectionist?
Not as much as you are.
I'm bad.
Not as much as you are. You strive for perfection. I strive for greatness.
There is a difference.
And they're intertwined.
They are, but there is a difference. One can get you in the weeds, and one is a bigger play picture. I need to learn a bit more from that.
The question is which one should come first, right? And for me, I respect yours more because you get greatness out of striving for perfection.
Explain.
You only want to be perfect in every endeavor that you pursue when you snap a photo or direct a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is because your expectations is at perfection, greatness comes out of it.
Mm.
But when you're focusing on trying to be great, some things come through and they're very flawed. You know?
Very true.
Yeah.
I'm learning as I get older. I'm learning to embrace the flaws, and I'm learning that the flaws are what make it unique.
Yeah.
The human flaws. You know, I'm inherently the artist that I am, and I am my own worst enemy in everything I do. I am my biggest critic. But if I can get past, or if I can get through that approval process, and I look back at the work or the photo or whatever it is, and I'm like, that's it.
Yeah, but perfection is the artist. Greatness is the entrepreneur. So that's just what we do for a living more than anything. You're an artist, man.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Would you consider yourself an artist?
I don't think so. I wish I was.
Okay.
I wish I was. I hopefully in my next lifetime I am.
What do you mean? Like what part?
Playing music, DJing, writing songs, making a movie, you know, writing a TV script. I love all that shit. But it's just not what my trajectory should be. But I love it. And cinema is a reflection
A
of that.
reflection of
Yeah.
it, for sure.
Yeah.
Was there a Great Gatsby theme? I keep calling it the Great Gatsby. I don't even know. I just see the gold and the old. And it's a combination of the Beverly Hills, old Hollywood, but there's something a little Great Gatsby. I don't know. I read the book. I love the book. It stood with me, and I just wondered, is there anything to that?
Yeah, it is. It is. It's the goldness. It's the glitz and glamour aspect of it. Because
Are you the Great Gatsby?
no,
Are you providing the luxurious party and hiding in the walls and waiting for people, you know, making people have a good time at your, you know?
yeah. I think, man, you have to think, man. If you get a babysitter, you get in your car and you drive 45 minutes to our restaurant to celebrate your wedding anniversary. Our responsibility is two things: to make you feel like a star, to make you feel welcome, right? And those are the two things you start with. So for us, that's the Great Gatsby side of it.
Sure.
Right? We have to make people feel special, important, comfortable, welcome. And that's when you go to a Gatsby party, that's what it felt like.
That is true. That is true.
Like. And then you're in an old movie theater. So
tell me a little bit more about Mark Seliger.
shout out to
I got to be a nerd because I've never met him.
my guy, man. I need to check in with him. He's up in New York.
I couldn't let that one pass somewhere. Yeah.
On this thing with Vanity Fair. So Mark Seliger.
Tell me some stories about Mark. I got to hear it.
Yeah.
I'm a nerd.
Yeah, Mark Seliger is an old school cat. First of all, he was really super close friends with someone who really inspired me in my early days of hospitality, who's passed away. Shout out. His name was Kerry Simon. So Mark used to come in town and visit Kerry and eat at the restaurant all the time. But Kerry was so busy, you'd be like, hey, can you make sure Mark is good? So I used to just take care of him when he came to Vegas, and the early days when we were in Beverly Hills when we did Simon LA at the Sofitel. And so we just became cool. And he's very genuine, right? He's very interested in knowing who you are, and he looks you in the eye, and he's just an old school cat.
Yeah.
You know, he's got a good heart. He's sensitive, but he's sensitive in a way that's endearing. You know what I mean? Yeah. So shout out to Mark.
Oh,
and he's talented as hell.
Talented. He's the GOAT. Yeah, for me.
Yeah.
So like, I gotta go back to these photographs. How did you, when you pick? I mean, did you pick these photos that were all in the? Did you individually? Say, I want that one.
Yep.
I want that one.
Yep. Put that one there. Put this one right here. Let's put that whole wall. Let's make that a whole London wall. You know, and you know. So
how many pieces do you have in the restaurant?
Man, I would say probably 50 to 60 pieces.
Between downstairs and upstairs?
No, that's just upstairs. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's 40 to 50 upstairs. And I've removed like 10 of them because we've, you know, pivoted from a service standpoint in certain areas for the staff. But, you know, I got some ZZ Top photos at home. I got a nice Jeff Beck one at home, BB King. But yeah, Robert, he just gave me his whole life of photography and said, which ones do you want?
The catalog.
Yeah.
You said pick.
Yeah.
And
some of his wife's stuff too, Mary Billum.
Sure.
She's a talented photographer too. So when you see stuff like Tool, I got a photo of Tool up there, I think. What's the guitarist's name? Johnny Five.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I got a dope photo of him, Cyndi Lauper. I like Cyndi Lauper because John used to listen to her all the time. That's
cool.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite image that you walk by on a closed after hours? You walk by and you're like, you take a moment to look at, and why?
Probably Freddie King.
Okay.
He's an old rock blues guitarist. I don't know, man. His face, the way his fingers is holding the guitar, his sweat on his brow and his fro. It just reminds me of like my uncles, like my mom's brothers, and like old school cats that I was watching shooting dice in Memphis and drinking 40s. Like Freddie King just reminds me of like a world that I observed as a 10-year-old when he plays. And
you feel that when you look at the photograph.
Yeah.
Your ivory detail is exquisite. Like you just describe things that most people wouldn't describe, but the sweat on his brow and all that stuff.
Yeah.
How does that relate to how you prepare food? You're chef, and it's incredible your presentations. It's very well.
That's her.
Yeah?
That's her. Like she's a musician when it comes to putting stuff on the plate, and we just hired her. We recruited her from unknown places, but we're lucky to have her, and that's why I'm really excited about these next 10 years because we're going to do some projects together.
That's cool.
Our conversations, it started with conversations, and how I'm literally talking to you right now, and you're talking back to me. Mm-hmm. We were having that same vibe, and it's just wanting to be great, but she wants to be perfect. She wants the perfect plate of food to go in front of the customer. Because you know why? Chef's an artist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chef's an artist, man.
You have a lot of personalities to deal with, too. You're running a crew.
Yeah.
I'm still on my parallels between your world and my world, and we're right there. I'm running a crew.
We got to go back again, too.
Well, we're running crews, and we're dealing with issues, and we're dealing with budgets. We're dealing with time. We're dealing with expediting results.
Yeah.
All the above, making all while pretending that there's no stress. Everything is cool.
Yep.
Everything is groovy. I kind of felt that was going to be one of our topics because I just feel like the direct parallels between, I don't know, running a very artful restaurant.
Yeah.
It's once again, it's not just slop some food and do this thing. It's vibe first in a way. I wouldn't downplay any kind of food and cuisine, but you feel it the second you walk in the door, and it's definitely influenced from your childhood of music, culture.
It's real. It's just a real place. And I think people kind of understand that. And it's emotional. The restaurant's emotional. Like when you walk in, you can feel the emotion in that building, right? And I try to tell my team, when we put on a show for our customers, do it with a high level of positive emotion, right? And you have to leave what's going on in your personal life at the door when you walk on the stage. And the stage is when you interact with a customer, when you're serving a drink to a bar patron, when you're greeting people at the hostess stand, even when you answer the phone sometimes. You can hear it in your voice. Hey, welcome to Sinema. This is Q. How you doing? What the hell is wrong with this guy?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Have you felt that? Okay. How has social media affected your business? Do you feel like you have to get into the social media ring to survive in this world as a business? Guys, I'm looking for the direct parallels between director photographer and who I admire greatly. I think.
Right. Go ahead. Finish it. Yeah.
I think our worlds are one and of the same. So I wanted to not wrap up. I wanted to dive into a little bit of the social media thing, because I'm learning with this podcast thing. You can't do a podcast without jumping all in to social media. And before this, I wasn't trying to be about it. I just did my bare minimum.
Yeah.
And I really feel like I understand the current. And I'm going to jump in, and I'm going to do it my way the best I can.
Yeah.
But it is taking a lot.
Takes a lot of time.
A lot for me to come to terms with it, because I didn't understand it. I understood it to a point where I can do it and do fine with it. But I'm starting a new business.
Yeah.
This podcast is a new business.
Yeah. Because nobody's walking to a magazine stand and picking up a New York Times or LA Times or Washington Post or a commercial appeal. Nobody's looking at a billboard every day, right?
Exactly.
Nobody's getting newspaper dropped off at their front porch, and you walk outside in your robe and pick your newspaper up, drink your cup of coffee.
That's a reality.
Yeah, man. It's just what it is, right? So social media, like if you're an old school cat like us, it's like, what the hell, right? This is what I have to do now.
Yeah.
This is where all my revenue budget that I set for the year need to put from a marketing and PR standpoint need to go into. And you got to be on point. And you got to be on point.
And you got to
just get the ad printed in the Nashville scene and leave it there.
You got to do it yourself. You got to be authentic. You got to, it's all in.
It's a pain in the ass, though.
Are you feeling like you're almost running two businesses?
Dude, I've run my businesses social media. I've been doing every Instagram post you see for Sinema since 2014 is me. Eighth and Roast, me. Consulting, partnerships. Hey, what should we do for social media? And now it's getting even more fierce. It's more fierce than it's ever been. And shout out to Kerry Simon again, because he's my old chef when I lived in Vegas and worked for the Maloofs. He was the first person that I met that used to say, you need to tweet this, you need to put this on Instagram. And I'm a kid, I'm like, you're just adding more work to my areas of responsibility. Mm-hmm. And now more than ever, what I noticed is the old school cat that doesn't give in to that new world that we're living in. Absolutely. This is what it is.
It's what it is.
It's what it is.
It's what it is.
When I see some old photographer friends not giving into that, and they trying to get it out the mud the old way, I said, you got to shake it up, man.
Yeah.
So
it took me a long time.
It sucks.
To figure out a platform. Because for the longest time, it was, I'm a director, I'm a photographer, I do my job.
Yeah.
I do it well. Let me plan it out. Let me do it to the umpteenth degree.
Yeah.
But it was antiquated.
Yeah.
You have to get it out.
Yeah.
And with this podcast that was it. I feel like I have so much I wanted to talk, and to be a part of these conversations and put artistic people on a spotlight was what I always wanted to do. But I couldn't do it on that kind of platform. I was like, people would hit me up and I'd be like, trying to educate them in a couple sentences on DM. I'm like, that's not it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It took me a minute to really embrace.
Yeah, because what you have to do is you have to build a circle around yourself and have all these attributes and these things in your circle. But then you have to punch these holes in the circle that you created, so when it leaks out, it can lead to more things for yourself and the people that you're responsible for.
It's just going into the space of selling yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't have to sell yourself in that way. You can find a way that works for you.
Yep.
And for me, that was a time thing.
And sometimes you have a D'Angelo moment where you got to take your shirt off.
I've had some bad, you know, some learning curves, but you know, for me,
yeah,
I'm enjoying the podcast because I get to, I don't know, start not rekindling, but just have a reason to bring people in and like you said at the very beginning of this, therapy.
What's cool about this podcast is what I've noticed, keeping an eye on everything, is it's a reminder of the human spirit too.
Sure.
And some people get lost in the sauce and not think about that, right? And lose that spirit. But this is a podcast that's based on that reminder. Like, you want to know what it's like in the trenches.
Yeah.
Right? And people need to feel that. And you feel it in everything when you're having those conversations.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, for me, the days go back to living in a Jeep.
Yeah.
And getting yanked out of that Jeep with no roof and doors and getting beat the shit out of by third string gangs, you know?
Yeah.
And then to just the road to success and what success is. But success is freedom and feeling weightless in your own skin and not feeling fear.
Facts.
I was scared shitless when I was 19, 20, living out of a Jeep and, you know, fighting to stay and getting Roscoe's chicken and waffles in a styrofoam container for free because they felt sorry for me.
Yeah.
You know, those I had to be reminded that that's where I came from, you know, because it does feel like 4 lifetimes ago.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, people say, well, how are you? It's like, man, when you see your best homie get killed and your oldest brother in jail for 15 years, your mom's battling drug addiction, your grandmother's sick, your uncle is an alcoholic, you don't know when your next meal's going to be. And, you know, it's just, all right, why not?
Head down, eyes out.
Let's go.
It's it.
Yeah.
And that breeds, I mean, hardship, I wouldn't say hardship is the answer, but it definitely puts a backbone if you channel it right.
Yeah.
We obviously are two people.
Without self-pity.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I like that you said that.
Yeah.
You know, it's being humble in defeat and getting back up and doing it again. I mean, countless times doing jobs for free or being told you're gonna do this for free. Yes, sir, I will. You know, I don't think that's adopted as much these days. Like I said earlier, a while back.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of entitlement, you know, and there's an old school that us two at least have been through to persevere through challenges. That's what I've noticed from this conversation, mainly because when you think of two creative people, I do think you're an artist. I know you from, I do. You think like an artist.
Now I'm starting to think you're an entrepreneur.
Well, you think like one. You have all the aesthetic attributes that go into it. What? Because you relinquish some of that control to a chef to present, you said, their art. Or maybe you're a director and she's the DP. You see?
Maybe, yeah.
And the DP is providing the visuals.
Yeah.
You see, that's where I'm trying to for our audience to understand.
All the it parallels for sure.
It very much parallels. Yeah. And that's why I consider you and always have an artist and a dear friend. But
thanks, man.
Yeah, I'm ready to talk more. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
But where else should we go with this?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
We've talked about a lot.
Talked about Vegas. We talked about LA a little bit. DC. Yeah, you tell me. Yeah. I think, man, you know what it is too, man. When you go through a lot of stuff, you start to cogitate like all these thoughts in your head on what direction you want the rest of your life to be, right? So I don't know. I feel like what we're trying to do is put things in place that give people inspiration.
Absolutely.
Right? So, man, there's so many kids that I know that's trying to figure this shit out. And, you know, and I get with them and have conversations, and I sit on a couple of boards and talk to a couple of people, man. It's just like, you know, people need us.
They do.
You know?
They do. I love mentoring.
Yeah.
I find it so fulfilling to bring up, teach, talk, educate.
Yeah.
I love what we do. I love what I do.
Yeah.
I love being creative.
Yeah.
You know, I've been through a couple cycles of trenches, and you know, I'm here to sit on a microphone, hopefully talk about them with other like-minded guys like yourself.
Hey, I appreciate it, man.
Well, thank you for coming out.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, brother.
Yes, sir.